What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the 2D platformer tutorial series. In this one, I was thinking of adding yet another cool feature to our platformer character. I was thinking of adding a wall slide or maybe an attack animation to start the beginnings of the combat system, but then it hit me. The game looks horrible right now. Don't get me wrong, the knight looks awesome, but the background and the props look really bad. So in this one, we're going to fix that by creating a tile map, import some assets, and set up auto-tiling so that we can create levels blazingly fast. Let's begin. Okay, so let's start by creating a new tile map node. I'm going to make this a separate scene so that we can use it in different scenes if we have to. Let's create a new scene. The root node is going to be a tile map, and for now this is going to be the only node we're going to have here. The tile map needs a tile set, so we're going to go into the inspector, click on the tile set here and click on new tile set. This will create a new tile set resource. We can actually save this to our file system, which is a good idea. So let's right click on it and click on save. Let's call this the default tile set and put this in the resource folder. Okay, so the tile set is going to need what is called an atlas that we can create from down here. As you can see, once we click on the tile map, we have two new workspaces that appear in the bottom panel. So if I click off of it, they're gone, but if I click on the tile map, they're back. The first one is the tile set workspace or the tile set editor, which is going to help us create a tile set and configure it. And the other one is the tile map editor, which is the one I'm on currently. I'm going to switch to the tile set because this is the first one that we need to use. The tile map has to do with actually using the tile set to draw. So first of all, like I said, we need to set up the tile set. The tile set is the thing that the tile map uses in order to draw. This will make more sense as we start creating these. Okay, so for the tile set, we're going to need a tile map. So I'm going to click on my assets folder to textures, and then I'm going to bring in some assets that I have prepared. The link for these will be in the description. These are from the same guy who made the knight, so hopefully they're gonna fit nicely. So we have this forest platformer tile set.png here. We also have some threes. We also might use these, so let's pick both and bring them into our textures folder. Nice, nice. And then we're gonna create a new atlas for the tile set. So let's click on the plus here and click on atlas. And then the atlas needs a texture, and this texture is going to be the tile map. So I'm gonna left click, hold on the tile map and drag it into the texture slot here. It's gonna tell me, do you want to automatically create the tiles? We're gonna say yes, which is going to make our work really easy. As you can see, all the tiles are automatically created here. This is a 16 by 16 tile set. And if you actually have the tile map selected, if you take a look at the inspector, it actually, firstly you need to click on the tile set here, and then you can look at the tile size. So this tile size is very important. By default, it is 16 by 16, which happens to be the tile size of our tile set. But if we had a bigger tile set, let's say 32 by 32, we would have to change this to be 32 by 32. There are also different settings here, like the shape of the tiles. In our case, they're square, so that's the default value. But if you have isometric tiles or different types of tiles, then you need to configure those here as well. Okay, so believe it or not, we can actually start painting with this much setup. So back in Godot 3, tile sets and tile maps used to be a little bit of a pain, but with Godot 4, they're really easy to work with. So let's actually save this tile map, save the scene, I mean. Control S. Let's go back into the scenes folder and save this as the tilemap.tscn. Let's go back into our world scene and create an instance of the tile map here. And like I said, with this much setup, we can actually start drawing. I'm going to switch to the tile map editor instead of the tile set. Here we have a couple of tools that we can use to paint. The first one here is the paint tool. And while you're doing this, make sure you're in the select mode in the top toolbar here. So I'm in the select mode here, but here I'm gonna pick the paint mode and click on a tile that I want to draw. So let's pick this one. And then I can actually, up here, let's say, start painting with this. And I can pick these different ones and create a little platform here. And I can actually left click and drag to pick a pattern, which I just did here by mistake actually. So I can, for example, pick these two and then paint this part here. Just makes things easier, makes things faster. We're actually gonna configure auto tiling, which is gonna let us just paint, and everything, like all these different parts of the tile map, will just placed automatically in the correct spot. Okay, I'm gonna finish this little platform here, and as you can see, we painted the first platform. But the problem currently is that this has no collisions. So I can put the player up here and run the game, and the player will just fall through this platform because it doesn't have any collisions. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna switch to the tile map scene and create a collision physics layer for this. So the physics layer is the correct term. If you take a look at the inspector, we have, once you click the tile set here, the tile set has a physics layers section. And in here, we're gonna click on add element. And this will create a new physics layer for the tile set. Then we're gonna switch to the tile set editor here. So this is the tile set editor. And in here, we're gonna go into the select section. This mode lets us pick individual tiles or just pick multiple ones by holding down Shift and clicking on the ones that we want. I'm gonna select all of these guys because I want all of these to have a collision shape. So with these selected, I'm gonna go into the physics tab here, physics layer 0, and down here we can create a collision shape for these. Because I have all of them selected, the collision shape that I create here will be set for all of these. I'm gonna click on this plus icon here to start creating my shape, and I'm gonna click on the edges here to create a rectangle. And I think I forgot to pick this guy, so I'm gonna click on that one as well and also create a collision shape here. Now I made all of these to be squares, but if you look at these ones, for example, the edge ones, these are not really squares. They have a little bit of blank space here, so you can actually adjust the shape here, for example, like this. You can create more points, and then you'll have a better looking collision shape. I'm not gonna, bother doing those right now because it's gonna take a lot of time. So we're gonna push through. I might do them, after I make this video. So if you want to do that, you can do that. Okay, so with this, we should have collisions happening for our tile map. So let's go into the debug menu here. We have visible collision shapes on. So if I run the game now, we should be able to see the collision on the tile map. And you can see that we have the collision shapes correctly being created for each of the tiles. And you can see that this part is slippery because we made it, not a square shape, which might not be what you want actually. So yeah, that's up to you. Okay, so we actually have a working tile map right now. And we could, go ahead and use this, go into the tile map and pick, a tile from here and start using it. But like I said, it's going to be a pain drawing these by hand one by one. So we're gonna set up auto tiling. Okay, so let's go back into the tile map scene. To set up auto tiling, we're gonna click on the tile map, go into the tile set from the inspector, click on it. And in here, just like we created a layer for the physics, now we're gonna create a set, a terrain set. So Godot calls auto tiling terrains. So in order to use them, you need to create a set, and you can have multiple of these. So we're gonna create a terrain set, and the terrain set needs a terrain. So we're gonna click on this chevron here to open up the terrain section and click on add element again. Now we have a terrain set, and the terrain set has a single terrain. Okay, so let's use this terrain set. In the select mode here, we're gonna select these guys again. So let's turn off the physics section, and I'm gonna select all of them again. And we're not gonna use all of them actually. We're gonna use these two, and also we're gonna use these two as well, but we're not gonna use the rest of them for the auto tiling. Okay, so with these guys selected, I'm gonna go into the terrain section here. And by default, the terrain set and the terrain for these is set to -1. And that means that they don't have a terrain set or a terrain. We're gonna set this to be 0, first the terrain set and then the terrain. 0 doesn't mean null or it doesn't mean empty. In this case, 0 means that for example, this has the terrain set index 0 and the terrain index 0. So the indices for the terrain set and the terrain start from 0. Okay, so now that we have the right terrain set and the terrain set for all of these, we're gonna go one by one and set their auto tiling configuration. Okay, so let me explain to you how this works. So I'm gonna click on this middle one here, and I'm gonna go into its terrain's peering bit options here and make this a little larger. So this has an option for each of the, the parts of the tile. If you take a tile and split it to, 9 different sections, the top left, top side, top right, left, right, center, and bottom left, bottom, and bottom right. So there's an option for each of those areas. And what we're going to specify is when to use these tiles. So for example, the center one, we want to use this tile when all of the tiles that cover this tile are filled. You can actually see that very clearly here in the tile set image. So all of the tiles, like the top side, the top sides, the left and right sides, and the bottom sides are filled. So only in that case, we're gonna use the center tile. But for example, this top left part here, we only want to use this one when the bottom side of it, bottom right side of it, and the right side of it is filled. So okay, let's start setting this up. I hope I'm not doing a horrible job explaining this. Okay, so let's begin. So this center one, like I said, we're gonna set all of the parts to be filled. So by default, these values are -1, and that means empty. So -1 means empty and 0 means filled. So I'm gonna set all of these to be 0. And you can see that the Tilemap editor, the tileset editor, is doing a good job visualizing these parts. So I selected all of them to be filled. So this all of the tile is filled. Now we're gonna pick the top left section here. And like I said, we're gonna fill the right side, bottom right, and the bottom for this. And we're gonna leave everything else to be empty. Bottom right, right side, and the bottom side. We're gonna pick this top center piece, and this one is going to be the left side and the right side, bottom left, bottom right. Let's see, right side, bottom right, bottom side, bottom left, and left side. And for this one, the top right edge, we're gonna have the left side, bottom left, and the bottom side. So I hope this is making sense to you. And we're basically going to create a square here. Okay, I'm gonna speed up a little and do all of these. So this one is going to be the left side, top left, top side, bottom side, and the bottom left side. This one is going to be, let's see, top left, top side, left side. This one is going to be top side, top left, top right, left side, and the right side. This one will be, let's see, right side, top right, and the top side. And finally, this is going to be the right side, top right, bottom right, top, and the bottom. And then we're gonna move on to these guys in the right side here. So these will be the ones that are in the edges where, two rectangles meet, two rectangles of tiles meet. So these two will be for the bottom side, and these two will be the top side. These ones are a little bit more difficult to understand from just looking at this, but when you see them in action, you'll understand what they do. So let's see. So this one on the right will have all of the parts selected, but the top left. And this one will have all of them selected except top right. This one will have all except bottom left. And this one, everything except bottom right. Okay, so with that, we have all of the auto tiling stuff configured, and now we can actually test it. So let's first test here, maybe in the tilemap scene. So we can go into the tilemap editor here, and from here we actually need to go to this terrains option. So by default, you will be in this tiles option here. And from here, you can paint individual tiles or pick a pattern. You can also use these different painting tools here. You have a line tool, for example. So you can paint in lines. You can also paint in rectangles. So you can do stuff like this. Or you can use this fill tool, which will fill in betweens of a shape that you have, the empty spots. You also have an eraser here that you can use. Okay, we're gonna go back into the paint mode here and we're gonna switch to the terrain section. And from here, we can use the terrain that we just created. You can also see the terrain set and the terrain, we created in the inspector. So we have a single terrain set and a single terrain, but as you create more of them, they will appear here. So I'm gonna pick terrain 0 and I'm actually gonna pick the rectangle mode here. Or first, let's start testing with the paint mode. I'm gonna pick the paint mode and start painting. And you can see that all the tiles are being placed automatically. And I can paint and paint and paint and it will look correct. And we can actually speed this up by clicking on the rectangle tool here and start creating rectangles. And you can actually see those corner pieces here. It seems like we made a mistake maybe here because that's not correct, but this one is correct. And for example, let's see. Here, this one is also not correct, so we probably made a mistake there, but this one looks correct, and this one also looks correct. So the bottom ones look right, but the top ones we didn't do correctly. So let's go back into the tile set. In the tile set, I probably mixed these up. So for this one, it is going to be probably, let's see, the top left side. That is going to be empty, and this one, let's set the top right side to be empty. Let's save, and let's go back into the tile map, pick the terrain, and let's pick the paint tool and paint here. Now you can see that it is correct. And we can also test it with the rect tool, do some of this stuff like this, and it is all looking good to me. Okay, so this is the auto tiling feature. I'm actually gonna click on the eraser here and pick all of this to get rid of it and save this scene. And then now we can go back into the world scene. And in here we can create a better looking, layout. So we actually don't need these platforms anymore. We can delete them. From here, let's delete them. And let's put the tile map at the top here. I'm gonna pick the tile map and go into the terrain again, pick the terrain and create a ground here that we're gonna use. We can leave the boxes here. We can actually use them. Let's get rid of this part here. Let's run the scene. And I'm gonna turn off the visible collision shape so that we can see the art a little bit better. And now you can see that we have a nice looking, floor / ground tile. And we can actually make this even look better by using layers, because we actually have some, if you take a look at the tile set image here, we actually have some grass that we can use. But if you zoom in here and try to use this grass with this setup, it's not gonna work because let's see, let's pick the tile map here, go back into the tiles, pick the grass, for example, and try to paint. And you will see that the ground, the dirt layer disappeared. So this isn't the way that we want to do this. The way we're gonna achieve this is by using layers. So let's go back into the tile map scene and let's close this terrain sets option. And down here, outside of the tile set, there's an section called layers. So by default, we have a single layer. We're gonna name this one the ground, and we're gonna create one more layer, and we're gonna call this the grass. And we can set the z-index for the grass to be 1 so that it appears above the ground all the time. And now when we paint, you can see that there's a layer option here, and we can pick the ground layer or the grass layer. And the grass layer will be displayed on top of the ground. Okay, so I'm gonna save and go back into the world. In here, in the tiles section, in the tile map editor, I'm gonna pick the grass here. and start painting. As you can see, it didn't work because I forgot to change layers. So I'm gonna undo that and pick the grass layer this time. Now when I paint, I actually have two different variations of the grass here to make it a little bit more unique. So let's choose these ones randomly. But you can see that I can paint on top of the ground with this layer setup that I have here, which is really nice. And we can use these edge tiles here to make it look good, just like this. Now when I play the game, the ground looks a little bit more nicely with the grass. Okay, so there's a lot we can do with the tile map. This is just scratching the surface. Godot 4's tile map node is extremely powerful, but this video is already very long, so I'm gonna cut it here, and in the future maybe we'll play with the tile map more. Thank you for watching this video. I'm always working on new videos and new courses for you guys, so if you want to get notified when I make new stuff, make sure to join my email list. There's a link in the description. Once you do that, you'll get cool stuff like discount codes for my courses or beta access for the games that I'm working on and stuff like that. Thank you for watching again, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.